Hello everyone, this is Victor Dantas here from the Zero to Hero Academy. Over the years we have helped multiple professionals either get into the Power Platform market or some of the seasoned professionals within the industry up their game within the low-code technologies. And we are here to announce that we have a special program coming up between March 19th and May 30th. This is the Power Pages and AI Zero to Hero Mentorship Program. Join us, click on the link, access the lessons. You know how we do it. Live lessons on Teams, and then the recorder goes up to YouTube and you can follow if you are in different time zones, but we prefer it to join it live. Connect, ask questions. So go ahead, invite your colleagues, your dad, your mom, your grandpa. Let's everybody join the fun. All right, we'll see you there. Take care.
All right, oh, that's good. And then, as Cheryl says, we find different people coming to each session as well. So to the people that were here on Tuesday, this will probably be a recap because I have the same presentation. But just like you said, Victor, just like Nick, I'm not able to do the same presentation twice. And then when I got back from the session that we did on Tuesday, I felt like I pooped all over Copilot. I'm going to try to not do that today, because I was a bit in a bit of an angry. We had an argument, me and Copilot on Tuesday. I'm not gonna. We're settled it now, so I'm all good. Right. Let's see. Shell is happy that I'm doing the same thing because you weren't here on Tuesday, but you're always happy, Cheryl. So that's all good. Okay, yeah, guys. Let's get started. My name is Ulrikke Akerbaek, and last time Victor, and in the ads, Victor had me up as Superwoman, Supergirl, something. But I am actually Black Widow. So this is right, and you switched that around today. I like it. So this is from AC/DC back in, I can't remember when this was, 20, maybe 17 or something. I actually got perm and did the red coloring and got the outfit because we had a Marvel theme at AC/DC, a hackathon that we run in Oslo every year. So yes, I'm definitely Black Widow. And Nick sent me a text after Tuesday as well. How come I didn't see these pictures? So yeah, this is for the selected few. Not many people have seen these photos. So this is me. I'm a Power Platform practice lead at a consultant company called Itera. We're about 700 people scattered around all of Europe, based in Norway. And being a Power Platform practice lead means that I'm the technology leader in Itera for Power Platform. That means that I'm the admin, of course, of our environments. So I get to fiddle around with COE and all of those exciting bits. And also means that I'm responsible for throwing events, making sure that my colleagues are up to speed, and also kind of bringing in news and updates and making sure that we do share things around the Power Platform that we learn. But I'm also hands-on in projects. I do deliver, I do write code every day in projects that we have for our customers, and also lead a team, and I'm architect also, running around selling Power Platform to our customers and writing answers to big bids and all of that jazz. So that's my job. And yeah, this is the second slide where I have the Boost podcast logo as well, because news and updates, it's not just my job to keep up to date, it's also my hobby as the co-host together with Nick Dolman on the Power Platform Boost podcast. We release an episode every 2 weeks. We keep you up to date on everything Power Platform, not just Power Pages, even though we both came from that side of the thing. We do know other things, or Nick knows other things. And yeah, so if you want to have a listen when you're commuting or running or whatever it is that you do, we try to keep it short and sweet. And also, if you want to reach out, please do. I do check all these channels regularly. Yeah, happy to answer any questions after this session and on other topics as well. So reach out if you want to. Right. So this This session or this this hour is going to be that's a big job description. I believe a lot of us do this kind of the same. And then, of course, I'm a business applications MVP as well, meaning that I do also travel to conferences and do sessions and speak and blog and all of the other things that all of us do. I find it's so much fun. I just came from Color Cloud conference in Hamburg in Germany, where we dyed our hair different colors. Mine is really fading. It's supposed to be bright purple. We raised 10,000 euros for charity by coloring our hair. 3 people got tattoos as well. So it just goes to show what the true community spirit can actually do. And that is not just about tech. Just like you said, Cheryl, we're friends. We love each other. We really are connected through tech, but also as people and as humans. So I just absolutely love this community. And yeah, would do crazy things for it. So there you go. Yeah, so today's session is going to be about styling Power Pages, and it was supposed to be angled towards AI, but then someone here had an introductory session where it kind of went through all of the nice new capabilities, and I'm looking at you, Victor. So I figured, and then I saw Franco's session where he goes in and uses Copilot with the new Bootstrap 5 capabilities that you have there, kind of showing you how to use Copilot to work for you, writing liquid and getting components off onto the screen. So I thought maybe I'll switch it around and kind of dial it down a bit and show you the basics, because as much as we want to rely on AI and Copilot, it is and will always be, in my perspective, a Copilot, and it's only going to be as good as you are. So unless you're able to check it, then you really can't make it work for you. And just this week, we had a tech talk here at Itera. One of my colleagues showed us the capabilities of Copilot in GitHub Copilot. And I asked him, do you feel like this is making you a better developer? Is this enhancing your development skills? And he says, no, this will not teach my mother to be a developer, but it makes me as a developer faster developer. And I feel like that's probably the best way to go about using Copilot as well, when we're still in the phase of teaching it how to be better. We need to have that mindset that we're in this together. It takes a village. It's still a toddler, and it's up to us to raise it. So if we use it and we show it what it's done, what it's doing right by giving it a thumbs up, and then showing it what it does poorly by giving it a thumbs down, then Microsoft can always go in and adjust. And they are looking at those telemetries. At MVP Summit, they told us we are looking into the thumbs up and thumbs down, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs down. So use it and give that feedback, because that is the only way that will make it better. And so we make that Copilot experience better because we know our work. We know this stuff. We're professionals. And so that the next generation, the ones that come after us, maybe they'll have an autopilot. Maybe they'll have a good Copilot that can actually make them a better developer. But it's up to us to kind of make that work. So we're doing the groundwork now for the generation of developers that come after us. So that was kind of the general idea of this session. I will bring you the basics. I'll teach you how to start getting started branding your Power Pages site. But first, before we do that, we'll look into the Copilot and new styling capabilities that came out during the winter. So this is going to be kind of a recap of what we've seen so far. And then I'll show you the basics of how to do design and through the design studio. And then we'll look a little bit about at advanced styling and what you can do. So let me just grab a little sip of tea. Is there any questions this far? No, only 4
I don't
people.
think there are questions. I do have a quick comment. I mean, I know the mindset that we've been talking about is potentially offering a lot to Copilot so that it makes it better for whomever's coming after us. But I notice, just doing this exercise for presentation, that things that I provided maybe a week and a half I don't know if it was my comments. Maybe I'm thinking too highly of myself, but but my suggestions. I saw a difference a week later already, and I know that Oliver, he prepared a lesson and tested the night before he presented, and he was already getting better results. So it may be that, I mean, I love the mindset of preparing it for maybe future generations, but I think we will see, excuse me, we'll see the results faster. I think, I mean,
Mm,
I noticed that maybe it wasn't anything that I did or somebody else did it, but I started to reap the benefits of that
yeah.
mindset. So thanks for leading us in that direction.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do agree with you. And that is because we've been giving it feedback. And also, I feel like I took this kind of prompt engineering way too lightly. I thought, yeah, surely I'll just ask it a few questions. But the prompt engineering, that's real. And we all need to be better writers. And that's kind of why I feel a bit that's kind of the argument that I've been having with Copilot this week is that I'm not a writer. I'm a developer. I want to write code, not huge sentences and telling it how
Yeah,
great it is. That's not what I want to do as my job. Then you can have authors do that. I want to
yep,
write code. I want to develop. So let me do that and not having to spend the time telling Copilot how great it is to make it do its job for me, do my job for me. So and that's kind of the struggle that I have on Tuesday as well, is that there's a friction here. Well, we're figuring it out.
yep, for sure, for sure. Sorry to interrupt.
No, 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 it's so good. It's so good. I love it. So keep it up. Okay. Um, this is the design process that I'm going to kind of take you through very lightly. This is the process that I've been developing over the 15 years that I've been in this industry. I've done branding and web development and front end my whole career. And this is not new. This is not revolutionary in any way. You'll find this pattern quite a lot if you dive into web development best practices and how to build a website. And I have in my previous life, it was a SharePoint intranet developer. So I developed branding for SharePoint internet. So and this is the exact same pattern that I would use for developing SharePoint sites is what I use for Power Pages today. And it starts off with a blank canvas. And I always look at the logo first because that is one of the strongest identity markers of any brand. Usually, if you work for a customer or you're in for your own company, you have a logo that kind of establishes some form of identity of who you are. It sets precedence around colors, maybe tone of voice, who you are, if you're very strict, very formal, more playful. And from that logo, I make the favicon, and we'll talk a little bit more about the favicon in a bit, which is that browser icon that you have on the top. And then I'm a huge font nerd. So for me, fonts is really the personality of any site, of any branding, of any kind of front end. That font is your personality. It tells you so much about the brand and the tone of voice. So I'm a huge font nerd. So that's kind of the top thing that I'll look into. And then of course the colors, because that's also a huge identity carrier as well. Once we have that base or that framework of graphic identity embedded or implemented, we move on to the header and the footer because that's kind of the carriers of this identity, this framework, if you will. And then we dive into the kind of things like main navigation, how's your user gonna, because that has to do with mental patterns. When you see the main navigation, you kind of, it's like looking at a map. You see the big countries first. You don't see a lot of other details. And once you zoom into one country, then you see the regions, right? So that's your main navigation, kind of is that map of the countries that you're looking at, the big picture. And it kind of tells you what the content is and how to structure that in your mind. It triggers different mental patterns that we already have in our heads. Onwards, we go to the top bar where you have your languages, your search bar, maybe your login buttons. And then we start to look into the different page layouts. What kind of content do you have? What that will carry on the message that you want to bring out to the public? Maybe you have articles or blog posts that look a certain way, have the big feature image on top, and maybe a big header, of course, and a commentary field maybe at the bottom. And then maybe you have event sites where you have one event that should look in one way. And you kind of map those out and implement those as web templates and web page layouts so that you can use those across your site. And then it's about filling in those page layouts with pages and content. And as you start to fill out your site, you'll see that you need different content blocks for different pages. Maybe have some reoccurring content blocks as well. And that's when you need to look into reusable components. We can build those now with web templates, with a manifest file in Power Pages. Finally, we're able to reuse content. So cards, for instance, or sections or splash. We'll look more into that later as well. And then you have your custom components, PCFs, where you need to bring in custom code to meet your requirement or your customer needs. That's when you kind of have to look into those components. And of course, the out-of-the-box forms and lists and all of the other juicy bits that you can add to your Power Pages site. That's when you kind of dive into the details. So it's from this high up visual identity perspective and kind of digging deeper and deeper into the material as you build out your site. And this is kind of the same way and the same structure that this session is structured in. So we will now dive right into the process and we'll look into the logo and the favicon. And Cheryl says that it's so true about fonts. I spent ages figuring out the font that speaks to me. Cheryl, the number of hours that I've spent in Photoshop and on Google Fonts just to type something out and then just flip through and see what that looks like in different fonts until it kind of just speaks to me. Oh, yes, I absolutely love it. It's so ridiculous, but I absolutely love it. So I'm with you, girl. I need to remember that this is going to be recorded. Right. So before we even get started with logo or anything, I want to make a point about templates. Now, I've been speaking about templates for forever, and I was married to the partner portal for so long because that was the beast that I knew. That was the first portal template that I ever delivered a project on. So I knew that template in and out. And so I always chose that whenever I was delivering a project to a customer, even though they didn't need all of it. I would just use that partner template. No, sorry. Yeah. And I would just hide all the things that a customer didn't need. And I would build and start building out the portal using that template. That's not necessarily a bad approach. Even though we have other templates now, I think the most essential thing is to learn the beast, learn to know the beast that you're dealing with. So I would actually recommend not always switching up and swapping out the templates that you use, but maybe choose one and learn that well, because that will make you more efficient. So maybe the shortest path to implementing what your customer want is not choosing the right theme or the right template according to the theme or the color. Maybe it's choosing the one that you know so that you're faster in implementing what they want. Because depending on the template that you choose, the color that you select in your theming will apply differently. So one starter template, for instance, the primary color will be the background color, but on another template, the primary color would be the header color. So again, the point is learn one of these very well and then use that so that you're most efficient. That's my pro tip. That's how I do it. And you're free to disagree and do it your own way, but that's just my tip. And I said I wasn't going to talk too much about Copilot, but I will talk a little bit about it. You can now use it to create a website, like Victor's already shown you in one of the first sessions. And you can also ask it to kind of theme your site, like Coca-Cola, or I tried it for Nordic Summit so many times. I tried it 7 times and it will still get the hex colors wrong. And so then I just abandoned the whole thing and kind of made it from scratch. But what it did was it kind of grabbed ish colors, so it kind of got the azure color right, and the different gray tones that we have up for Nordic Summit, but it didn't get it exactly right. So kind of as a starting point for you to kind of get a look and feel, so you don't have to reimagine everything yourself. Yes, it makes good use of that, but you need to know what you're doing afterwards. You can't really rely on that theming from Copilot to do your job for you yet. Sorry. But the more we use it, the better it will be. And I'm 100% sure that one day you'll be able to just point it to a URL and you just grab that CSS and add that for you, no problem. Also, yeah, you can make it create pages with different layouts and different content. What I also see is that the base that Copilot has to draw from seems very limited so far. I've tried it a couple of times, and it keeps giving you the same kind of layout and the same kind of content. So it doesn't seem like it has a broad library to draw from. So until that library kind of and it gets more creative, I think I do a better job myself. And usually we have Figma sketches or some kind of interaction design going. So to me, this doesn't really make sense, other than the perspective of I'm fiddling around, don't really know what I'm doing, I'm playing, or for a demo. The generate text I do use. I absolutely love that. So I don't have to go to the lorem ipsum every time I need to put in some text. And also we can now create code as well with the Copilot in Power Pages on in the Visual Studio Code. So yes, it can help, but you need to know what you're doing in order to check it. This is Nitish. He works at Microsoft. He's a lead. He leads the design efforts for Copilots and Design Studio and Power Pages. We did a session together at Microsoft Power Platform Conference in Vegas in October last year, where he showed these slides, and I'm going to go through them today to show you what you can do with Copilot and styling in the designer. So this is kind of the experience for adding a new page. Add a page for Group Bank loans. It kind of creates that for you with an image, text, different sections, kind of fills out this whole page. And this saves you so much time. So for this purpose, it is great just to have something to work off of if you don't have a sketch already to work off of. So yeah, absolutely great. But this is kind of where I hope to see it being more creative and coming up with a broader range of layouts, because I feel like it's kind of the same three page layout that it kind of iterates between when we use this feature. Oh, sorry. Going back. Was a bit quick here. Let's go back to see. And right. Copilot to add a color theme is what I talked about earlier as well, that when you design when you add a new Power Page, you create a new Power Page site, or you are in here and you want to apply other styling, you can ask it to create a theme. You can give it a specification in text, or you can actually ask it to go to a Power Pages, to another website and grab the colors from there. And it's a good tool to play around with to see how your content changes with different themes. It's very quick and easy to apply to all pages. It's very nice as a demo kind of tool and as a proof of concept, but I would not use this in production solely because it doesn't apply the styling it's not a global styling kind of thing. You have to always make sure that all your content is up to speed when you use this feature as well. So and how to add text content. You can have it write your text for you. This has been around for a while. I think we got this last summer. And this I use a lot, just so that I don't have to put in the dummy text myself. And I can make it shorter, I can make it longer, more professional, more creative. It's kind of up to me and to adjust that as much as I want. And I really like that. Also, speaking about fonts and being font nerds, we used to be able to select from one of 10 fonts, I think, in the Design Studio. Now, with the release in October, they actually hooked the Power Pages site up to Google fonts, and you're now able to choose from up to, I think it's 30 different Google fonts that you can choose from, and that's a selection of the most. It's a curated list of the most used fonts across websites that Microsoft sees that is most used across websites. Now you can still make the mistake if you want to add too many fonts to your sites. I would want Microsoft to kind of limit how many different fonts you could actually choose from. Now you can set one font for header 1, another font for header 2, and just keep on going, different fonts for different headers. It's not really best practices in terms of interaction design or graphic interface for web design. And you should stay clear of that. Maybe 1 or 2 fonts is best, but still, this is much better than the embedded fonts that we had. And of course, you can add your own, and we'll look into how you can add your own custom fonts later. Imagery, also, I love this, being able to choose images from a stock library, not having to worry about the creative restrictions or limitations of the pictures. You can use these in your Power Pages site and have that publish it to the web and not worry about it. And this app, I absolutely love this as well, to not just having to use those placeholder images that we used to use. And also the icons and the illustrations, I haven't used that too much, but it's also very good that we have those options to use both the icons and the illustrations. Some very cute illustrations here as well. Also, you can now add a lot of other styling to your site. This doesn't really resonate with me because I'm used to writing CSS at a global level. So if I wanted rounded corners on my images, I'll simply go into the global CSS saying all images should have rounded corners, 20 pixels, done. And that will apply to all images across sites. To do this picture by picture kind of doesn't really make sense in terms of a professional way to go about web development or web design. But for fiddling around, doing demos, sure, it's all good. And to play with page styles and image styles, yes, that makes sense. So from a drag and drop end user kind of PowerPoint perspective, it does make sense, and it's very cool to play with. And this goes for other elements as well. You'll be able to style sections, images, text, videos on your site. You can add shadows, rounded corners, and borders, and everything that you like. And it's like I said last time as well, this is to me the equivalent of when you were able to use transitions in PowerPoint. Just because you can, all salespeople in the world, doesn't necessarily mean that you should make your slides swirl between your sites. It's if this makes your content pop and this makes sense from a getting my message across point of view, sure, rounded corners, borders, whatever you want. But if it's just to add flair or just because you think that it looks cool, yeah, maybe you want to check with someone who's visually strong that you know, because there is more to be said for simplicity first. Or yeah, that's my 2 cents on that. Drag and drop, absolutely something we've gotten used to by now, being able to drag and drop components on the page, and absolutely love that they brought that in. And also being able to style data lists. This is necessary and absolutely crucial for the future of Power Pages as a web, as the tool that it is, that you're able to make the list not look like something from the 90s. So being able to style data lists and also forms is quite essential that we have this capability to make those changes visually. So now we're kind of diving into the next section of my session, where we'll go into the logo, the favicon, the fonts, the basics, and how you actually make this work. So any questions before as I dive into this? Cheryl says, sometimes less is definitely more. I absolutely agree.
Yeah, I do have a question, Rick. You may not have the answer, but it could be for anyone who's on the call. If folks have had a chance to test the new list, I know that there is a facelift, if you will. You know, the look and feel is different, but I was wondering if the wiring or the execution of the list has changed. Knowing the code from my ADX Studio days, I can tell that a lot of the stuff that interacts with the server requires a full post, meaning you can't really submit areas of the object back to the server for processing. I was just wondering if that has changed.
I don't know.
Um,
I
all
haven't looked into it in that detail. So,
right.
but I'll say what the guys usually say on external toolcast. That's a very good question, Victor, and that's your homework for next time to figure that out. That's a great blog post.
Nice, nice.
See
All
how
right.
I flipped that around because you're really
No,
the
that was
host and
good.
I'm really the guest.
No, that was good. That's funny. I was recording a quick call with Nicholas Hayduk, and he
Oh
he
yeah.
asked me if you could change anything on the product. Actually, he first asked what I loved about the product, and I said integration with Dataverse. And then
Mm.
he said, "What do you hate the most? And if you have the money and the means, you would change." I went back to Dataverse integration, but the objects themselves. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of evolution to the wiring forms. You have a
Mm.
form with a couple of fields, and you still have to do a full post to get the data across. So it's not very optimal considering all the JavaScript frameworks that we have in place today. But anyways, I'm so sorry to divert the direction of
No,
this
no, no.
lesson.
Absolutely love it. Bring it. Yeah, keep it coming. It's all good. And it's very good to have these conversations as well because I know that with any application or any program that you use, then there will be limitations. And and I have struggled with this. Believe you me, I know how much this hurts to go back to the customer and go, no, you can't relate something to this record because you need to create it first. No, you can't upload images now because you need to post it. It doesn't exist at this point, this record doesn't exist. There's so many limitations to having that tight bound between Dataverse and Power Pages and the forms in the list. But also that is, as you said, rightly so, that is also the biggest benefit and the biggest selling point for Power Pages is that connection and that tight knit with Dataverse. So yeah, it's kind of with your siblings, like you kind of love them and hate them at the same time. They're both your best friend and you hate it, kind of that dynamic thing going on. I feel it's kind of the same thing. But yeah. Um, let's move on to logo. In your studio, your design studio, you're now able to just click the header. It will allow you to set your title and your logo, do a bit of styling and edit your code. You can upload your own image, or you can choose from stock images or point it to a URL. If you have a public image or resource somewhere, you can actually point right directly to that. And I've done that in customer project where they have a website where they have their logo and they just point to that URL. And if they change that logo on their end, then it'll magically apply onto your Power Pages site. So that's a hot tip. Now, what I want Microsoft to do is allow us to upload favicons right here, because that they don't, because the uploader, the media library that you see here, where you can add an image, it doesn't allow you to upload that kind of file type that favicons are in .ico. So you will have to be able to add this favicon to your browser, you will have to go into the old model-driven app to upload that as a web file. And this kind of, I've always done this. It's kind of the first things I do. I put the logo up there and then I put the favicon in place. I know that a lot of people do that at the end, but I feel that customers really appreciate you taking the time to go in and make this little effort, because it does matter and it shows up so well in the browser, and for them to see their logo up there as an icon, it really makes a difference. It kind of just resonates always as this is a consultant that cares. I spoke about this last time as well. You have your model-driven app, and instead of just using the out-of-the-box puzzle piece icon, you kind of take the time to choose a proper icon or upload your own. That also shows the same kind of care and dedication to their application. It does make a difference. So I will recommend anyone not going in and using the default. Just make that little effort and add that favicon. And to be fair, the only thing you need to do is go in and upload a .ico, favicon.ico file. And I have resources on my blog post that you see on the screen here that will show you where to go to just generate a file like that. It will generate it for you. It will be 16 by 16 pixels, and it will look not well when you look at it, but when you upload it as a favicon here, it will look good. So it's worth making that effort in my view. And this is the way that it's been done since when I got out of school 15 years ago. This is what I was taught to do. And web development, news to me, has evolved a lot since then. But I still do this, and it still blows the customer away when I do this for the POC. But, you know, when you look at a website on your phone these days and you try to, and you save that as a progressive web app on your phone, or add that website to your start screen on your phone, that's a different story. Then it doesn't really cut it with a 16 by 16 pixel image. So then you need other image resolutions, you need other image type. Maybe you want to add a PNG in there. There's so many things to add to the head part of your web or your website. There's a whole new evolution in this area. I'll be honest, I haven't been diving into that. I'm still at this stage where I just add the 16 by 16 image. But if you want to do this right, look into how to add favicons in 2024, because it's a whole different ballgame. Going back to fonts, if you want to upload your own font, you can. You can upload it as a web file, just as you would the favicon. You simply go into the Power Pages Management app. You open up the web file section, you choose new, and then you add your details and you upload the file. This goes for favicons, this goes for fonts, and it's also a way to upload other resources that you want to use on your Power Pages site if you need to. But then, of course, you also have to know the CSS to apply this custom font to your website, and we'll get to that a bit later. Colors. We talked about Copilot being able to add themes to your site by supplying a URL, or maybe you say it by prompting it what you want. But usually we have to go in and adjust it a bit. So in your styling workspace, you'll be able to go in and choose from different templates that are already there that has a color palette already set, or you can go in and add your own colors. And this is what what I was talking about earlier. If you go in and you look at, if you provision different sites with different templates and you go in here and you apply the different themes, you'll see that different themes will apply differently to different Power Pages sites based on which template it's created by. And also the different themes will apply differently. So you say one theme, your primary color may be the background color, or it may be the header and the footer color. So you have to play around with it and learn how these tools work. And then usually that doesn't cut it. Always, in my opinion, you will be forced to go in and manage your CSS, upload a custom CSS to make sure that it applies correctly. And so when you've chosen your styling, you set your brown colors, you save that, and then you click the three dots and you choose Manage CSS. And that kind of transition us over into the advanced styling part of this session. So now I clicked the three dots, I clicked upload or manage CSS, and I'm able to add my own CSS, as you can see. So I can see my Bootstrap, my theme, my basic Fortal basic theme that comes out of the box with Power Pages. And then I can upload my own CSS, the itera.css that you see here. That can be an empty file as long as it has a .css at the end. And then you could open it up in Visual Studio Code in the browser, or download it and edit it from there if you want, directly from here. So that's actually kind of the usual thing for me these days, is that I'll upload a CSS file. I'll just choose edit code here. I open it in Visual Studio in the browser, and then I'm off to the races. I'm just going bananas because I love writing CSS. And to be fair, and Nick will tell you this, I was the first one to kind of shoot that down as soon as I saw that on the roadmap. Visual Studio Code in the browser. Who's going to use that? Because by that time, we could download the portal to the Portal CLI to your local machine. You can open up all the nice source code in your Visual Studio Code or your Visual Studio, and you could work from it from there. You can upload it to your site. Who would want to develop anything in the browser anyways? Famous last words. The day that this thing came out and I tried it, I've been hooked, and I've been working with it and using it every day since. And also, since that day, I haven't downloaded a single portal to my local machine through the CLI. This is what I do. This is what I use for most projects these days. So there you go. Cheryl. Okay. So once you hit that button and you open up the Visual Studio Code in the browser, now this is actually Visual Studio Code, you'll see that CSS file along with all the other files that you have. You see my favicon is there. I have uploaded a few logo files. I have a few others CSS. You have my new Machina black web font file there. And you can also see that I have my web templates and web pages and all the other file types that you have. So from here, I can go into any file and work with all the code across my whole Power Pages site. Now, this specific code that you're seeing here, this is the header of the website that we're kind of using as an example today, because this is, let me see if I can just backtrack a little bit. And I'll just fast forward again. Right. So this site that I'm using as an example today is our internal Itera kind of going away on a trip every year. So every September, we have a weekend where we all go off to retreat somewhere. We have 3 days of lightning talks and customer cases, and we go through all of this. We have a lot of good content that we share amongst us, good discussions and all of that. And then we also go off to do activities together, like rafting or horseback riding or going for hikes in the woods and that kind of stuff. And so this portal the sole purpose of this portal is to be active those 3 days for information about, the hotel and how to get there from all the different offices. You can see all the lightning talks, and you can kind of mark them as favorites to kind of build your own schedule if you want. You can see who you share rooms with. You can update your information. So many things you can do. And we also use this portal up front for people to submit their lightning talks, and for us on the back end to kind of sift through them and choose the ones that we want to add to the agenda, etc. So this site has a very custom font, for instance, and has a very custom header as well, because, yeah, this is what I wanted to show you. So if you look at the header, you'll see that the image on the top left, the logo, is Itera written out. But if you kind of compress the sites on a mobile phone, this is what the logo would look like. And so the responsiveness as well is something you always have to dive into the CSS to kind of get your hands on to make that look good. And so the code that you're watching, that you see here, is actually the CSS that make that possible. And what I'm actually doing is kind of cheating. I'm just replacing the image. So in the HTML, I have all these images rendered, and by CSS, I'm just kind of looking into the different view sizes and replacing which image is shown on the page. Just a hot tip from a cheating developer, because developers are lazy. We just want to get the work done, right? There you go. Also content, right? I was talking about reusable content. This is a typical card that you will find in Bootstrap 5. You'll have different components that you can use. You have carousels, you have lists, groups, you have cards, and cards are very much one of my favorite components. This is a web template that I can reuse always. So in this web template, I have an image to the left, I have a title, I have the body text, and I have a button with a link and the text and a title. This web template, I have the code for this, the HTML and the CSS in one spot, and I simply reuse that card on all my Power Pages sites throughout the site. And that means that when the customer comes in, which in this instance is me, and says, oh, I want rounded corners in all of these pictures. Back in the day, I would have to go in to all of the pages and look through this and add that class to all of the pages on my site. Now what I can do is I go into the web template and simply just add the class rounded to that one HTML image, and it applies to all the cards across my site. I'm showing you this just as a hot tip. If you know that you're going to use this component somewhere else, use reusable components. Look into the web templates with manifests to make sure that you can reuse that code and be a smart developer. Smart developer is lazy developer, just like that little red panda. Don't you just love that red panda? Every Monday I feel like that. Hi, Cheryl. I was talking way faster last time. I'm enjoying myself so much this time, and I'm almost out of time already. But we do have to look, and I'm closing up. I'm close to the end now as well, so it's all good. You can extend this any way you want. Custom CSS see no limits, and it doesn't in WordPress, and it doesn't in Episerver, and it doesn't in Power Pages. Anything you can make in a WordPress website, you can make with Power Pages. You can download your portal through the CLI, like I said earlier, and you have full range of your Power Pages code from your Visual Studio Code editor. And also, what I have done a lot of in the past, back in the day, a year ago, when I usually downloaded the portal through the CLI, is what I would use SCSS. It's a CSS structured framework that will allow you to write functions and have variables for your CSS and kind of work with the CSS in more of a developer friendly way. That is what I used to do. Now, pure CSS has evolved a lot over the last couple of years so that you're now able to add your variables. You can have colors as variables. You can have fonts as variables, different sizing, different margins and paddings, for instance, the gaps. You can put all of that into variables and use them across your vanilla CSS these days. So kind of alleviated a lot of the need that I've had to use SCSS. Now, mind you, in big project, I'll still use it because it is much easier to keep CSS organized and in a good structured way. So it's easier to collaborate. If you have a big team, for instance, it's much easier, I find, to collaborate in the SCSS framework than simply with one humongous CSS file. But each project is different, and each customer has different requirements for our branding as well. So it depends on what you need. That's what you use. Also, Power Platform pipelines, guys. I mean, I'm all for Azure pipelines and deployment profiles if you really need it. But these days, even with big customers, we use Power Platform pipelines. I also do a session about Power Pages and ALM. And Power Platform pipelines is really powerful tool, and it would just get better as well. A huge investment from Microsoft's side on pipelines. So if you haven't dived into that, I really encourage you to have a look at that for your next project. Also, Web API, that's one way to extend your Power Pages site. Of course, Liquid, every Power Pages developer that I know have the Liquid part of the Power Pages documentation up on a tab somewhere when they're working, right? Because I can't, for the life of me, remember all of that code. So absolutely dive into Liquid and JavaScript, of course. And now we can also use Power Automate in a secure way. So you can trigger your Power Automate flows directly from your Power Pages site. It's not like we've been able to do this before. It just wasn't very secure, but that's all good. Yeah, so this is what a SCSS structure, page structure project would look like. I would have I would download my portal. I would add a folder that's called SCSS. I'll have different folders for different parts of the styling. I'll have fixes in one, I'll have components in one, and I'll break everything up into different files so that it's much easier for the team to navigate into the different bits and pieces of your styling, of your CSS. And then that of course, when you add it to your site, you have to compile it into one big humongous CSS file, and that gets uploaded to your Power Pages site, and that is what it's actually using and when it's live and kicking. Yeah, pro code. I'm not gonna have time to dive too much into it, but you can always write as much heavy pro code as you could possibly imagine with Power Pages. If it's a big thing, maybe you want to kind of put that out in a companion app somewhere in Azure Blob Storage or something, a web app or something. But in my experience, adding JavaScript and jQuery on a page will get you far. We've also connected to Vue.js and Next and other libraries as well. So there's really not a limit to what you can do in terms of extending Power Pages with Pro Code. Yeah, also mentioned the CLI. Make sure you update this and use the latest version if you're using the enhanced data model. And yeah. So this session comes with a blog post that you will recognize. The header image here is the same that I used in this session. And that kind of goes through how to style your Power Pages as the session progresses in the blog post. So you can get all the links to the different parts of the documentation, for instance, and other resources. This is also where you find links to the other blog posts about favicons and fonts. I also have a blog post about low-code Power Pages ALM, which talks about the Power Platform pipelines, and also a few other blog posts, for instance, how to add the browser icon or the favicon to your Power Pages site, how to upload your custom CSS to Power Pages, and also how to use VS Code, CLI, CSS, and SCSS on your site, if that's something you're looking into setting up. 4 resources that I always also have available in my browser alongside the documentation is V3 Schools. It's a Norwegian site that's kind of this big library about everything under the sun in terms of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript and more. I always have that open just to keep up to date, really, because there are these are also evolving every single month. There's so much new stuff coming out. You really need to stay on top of it if you want to be a good developer. And so that's what I use it for as well. CSS tricks is kind of the same thing. Flexbox is huge, and especially with Bootstrap 5, you kind of need to know your way around Flexbox. But I can't really always remember. I'm getting used to it now, but just to get into it, CSS tricks is probably my hottest tip for you. And of course, get Bootstrap. Bootstrap 5 is, yes, we finally got Bootstrap 5 for Power Pages. Make sure you know what comes out of the box in terms of components. There's so many good components, and it's such a solid framework. Then if you think that you have to make something yourself, make sure you check to see that it doesn't already exist, because you don't want to make that wheel one more time to you. And of course, if you want to dive into SAS or SCSS, then saslang.com is a good way to start to make sure you learn all the fundamentals that you need to know before you dive into it. And that's it for me this time. Thank you so much for listening to me ranting on about and babbling on about styling Power Pages. And yeah, please reach out if you have any questions. And
That's
that's
awesome,
it.
Rick. That's really good. Quick question for you is of any of those sites, do you have you noticed if they are investing on AI? For example, I was, like yourself, I was using VS Code .dev all the time because it's just practical. I don't have to worry about downloading the code, especially if we are not really super concerned about source control and such. But then, watching some of the demos more on the pro code side for GitHub Copilot forced me to go back to the desktop version. And but I was wondering if there was any other tool that you use. Could be ChatGPT or even other one of the other CSS websites that are including an element of AI where you can also provide a prompt and it can construct things for you.
Mm. Yeah, I use Copilot to teach me how to develop. That's what I do. So it's been a
Okay.
long time because Bootstrap 3 that we used to have in Power Pages was all based on jQuery. It's been so many years since I actually made anything in vanilla JavaScript. So when
Mm-hmm.
we transitioned over to Bootstrap 5, I had to force myself to go back into and relearn vanilla JavaScript. And I've been using ChatGPT to teach me. So I've been telling it, I need to make, for instance, I have this customer requirement that needed to have 8 forms on a page and have a
Mm-hmm.
kind of a dial thing where you're able to select how many forms you wanted. And that's not something that you can do with out of the box Power Pages
Yeah.
components. So I thought I'll give it a go and I'll see if Copilot can teach me how to do this right. And actually I still have that chat and we're still working on it. And I always compared and I have my uh,
Nice.
peer programmer to kind of come in and check, is this how you would solve it? How is this old code? Is it new? Is it
Mm.
good? Is it bad? And he said, no, actually, it's doing a very good job. And this is exactly how I would have gone about it. So that kind of reassured me that Copilot can also help you, but that is kind of having that open in the browser on one end, on one screen, and then working on your Power Pages site on another screen, having Visual Studio Code open. So it's kind of this copying back and forth and this conversation almost. But I learn so much when I do that. I feel like I'm becoming a better developer with Copilot in that
Mm-hmm.
sense.
So this is a bit of the magic. Maybe you get hooked to GitHub Copilot as well as I did.
Mm,
So, you know, maybe you have to implement animation and you don't know syntax, but you see an example, right? So you come to I'm using GitHub Copilot, not necessarily the Power Pages Copilot locally. So you can do a little bit of inline prompt. I had a prompt ready, so don't think I can type it this fast. Um, but yeah, then it will build for you and it can do refactoring as well. So I can say, okay, I accept this part, but now I want to maybe add it to a collapsible panel, right? I mean, this
nice.
basic
Mm,
stuff, but what is cool about this, and I don't know if it's black magic or what it is, but I may accept this and then move all the way down to do something else in my code. And what I noticed with GitHub Copilot is that it will provide me suggestions of what I'm about to build next,
yeah. Mm,
which is insane to me. I mean, maybe
yeah.
you build a grid, and next step for you is to do a model pop up, right?
Yeah. Because that's what you
Um,
usually would do, right? And it knows
yeah,
that.
it,
Yeah.
it knows that. So it's like, oh my goodness,
It's
is it
reading
sync?
your mind.
Exactly, it's all
Yeah.
there
Can
for
we
us.
marry it, do you think? Is that an option? Because I really want to be married to someone that can read my mind.
it's
No, I'm just
it's gonna
joking.
it's gonna
Happily
it's
married.
gonna help so many husbands, I think.
Exactly, right? Yeah, that's gonna be awesome. Can I get a co-pilot wife, please? No,
There
no,
you
no, you're
go.
absolutely right. And
Especially if
I
it
know
looks
that.
like Tom Cruise, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course it does. No, but actually, so we the developers that we have here at Terra, they've been working with this it's been out for 1 year longer than Copilot has, right? So the Copilot, sorry, the GitHub Copilot has it's 1 year older than the Copilot we have in the ChatGPT, right?
Mhm.
So and it's kind of and they're almost complaining it's too easy because they're like me. They want to code. They love to code, and
Yeah,
it's kind of just
like the
doing their
challenge. Yeah.
job for them. So it's more of a oh, I wish it wasn't so good. And now they're kind of relying on it. And I actually spoke to one of my colleagues earlier this week about how we're becoming lazy developers, because at some point you will forget how to do it. If it does it for you enough number of times,
Yeah.
your head will forget. Oh, was it a space or a semicolon? What was it?
Hmm.
It kind of, your muscle, it kind of disappears from your mind when
Yeah.
it's like sitting in the driver's seat when you're driving somewhere, and then sorry, in the passenger seat, and then your spouse has wine, and then you have to drive back, and you're kind of lost, or
Yeah.
because you didn't drive there yourself, you didn't notice all the small signs along the way, right? So you don't know where you are.
100%.
So that's kind of, yeah, we're still figuring this thing out, me and Copilot. I'm not totally convinced yet, because I love to do what it's supposed to help me with. I think that's the biggest struggle we have to go through, overcome.
Awesome. Awesome.
To be fair, I've driven with Ulrikke before, and she has trust issues with the map. So
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe this is a huge trust issue thing. And hi, Nick. Nice to see
Hey.
you. Hey.
yeah, I snuck in the
How long
back
have you
door.
been here? Because
Oh,
I've
like
been
5 minutes.
okay. Good. It sounds like this is
He didn't
recorded
catch
and
the part
published to
that
the
we were
internet or
talking.
something.
He didn't get the part where we were talking trash about him, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, now we can watch it on the recording later.
Yeah, I'll have to go back
It's all
and
good.
watch.
Yeah. Did you publish this to the World Wide Web, Victor, this time as you did last time?
Sorry,
Did you publish this to streaming things and all the channels and
not
stuff?
this one time. I kept
Okay.
this one to us. Yeah.
That's so fun, because I didn't
Yeah.
realize on Tuesday that you did that, and then I had a friend tell me, yeah, I watched you on one of the channels, and I was like, what? I
Yeah,
thought it was
we
in
are
this close
everywhere.
little group.
Somebody, I met someone at a conference. They said, "Man, you keep on popping up on my LinkedIn." I was embarrassed a little bit.
Oh, Victor's live with something. Oh, that's so much
Oh
fun.
man.
No, and it
All
was a
right.
good thing, with Canadian Power Platform Summit. It's all that you were in that hobby. You got into that live streaming. I need to be better at that. You're leading the way in so many areas, Victor. I'm just blown away.
Yep. Yep. Happy to help. All right. So
Yeah, no, yeah. Thank you for having me, and thank you for doing this for all of you, for all of us. It's so amazing to have this resource. So I'm just so grateful that you'll have me here to rant and babble about things that I love and am passionate about. So thank you.
awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Rick, Nick, Cheryl, the folks who join us, who
Yay!
maybe join watching later on. We'll see you next week. Next week, I believe we have Cheryl on the show, so it's going to be amazing. It's going to be awesome. She's going to be talking about multi-language deployment.
Yes.
So
Oh,
I'm looking
that's so
forward to
good.
that.
Awesome.
So we'll see you next Tuesday and next Thursday. All right. Take care.
Perfect.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
weekend.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Ulrika. Still
Bye-bye.
my favorite presenter. Thank
Oh,
you.
you're so sweet,
Oh.
Cheryl. Thank you so much.